Hello, everyone, and welcome to the UR Mark on the World show. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe, and this episode is produced for Forbes, where I am a contributor covering social entrepreneurship and impact investing. And today our guests are Andy McCormick, the Senior Director of Cocoa Sustainability at Hershey, and Mike Sampson, the co-founder and CEO of CrowdSPRING. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Hi, Devin. How are you?
Thanks so much, Devin.
We're glad to have you both here. And Andy, I want to congratulate you first on the recent recognition from the State Department for your public-private partnership with impact for the Cocoa Link project that I know that you have some responsibility for. So congratulations on that.
Thank you very much, Devin. We really appreciate it.
And Mike, you had an interesting role to play in that process, but as you were able to provide a 5-panel mural recognizing not only Cocoa Link but the other 4 finalists as well. Tell us a little bit about how that came about.
Well, so CrowdSPRING is a marketplace for creative services. We have a large community, around 160,000 creatives, designers and writers who come from 200 countries around the world. And on our site, organizations such as Andy's or others can post projects looking for creative services. So we partnered with the State Department and Concordia to post a project looking for this mural that they were going to use as part of the presentation, as part of the process, and the award ceremony. They were looking for a design for this mural that had 5 panels, 1 for each of the finalists. They posted the project on our site. They had dozens of people participating and submitting ideas, submitting concepts, and they chose the one that they liked the best. And we're just thrilled with how it came out. It really is lovely.
Well, it is, and of course all of the projects were very inspiring. Andy, tell us a little bit about what this project means to you and to Hershey to get this recognition.
Well, we think it's great because we really recognize the public-private partnership. Our project is with the government of Ghana related to cocoa farming, and the idea was to use mobile technology, which is now in about 90% of the rural population of Ghana, to modernize cocoa farming, to increase income, to raise standards of living. So it was a partnership with the Ghana government through the cocoa sector, and then the idea that it's been recognized as a meaningful partnership is very gratifying to Hershey. It's now reaching about 45,000 cocoa farmers who get a free SMS message about cocoa growing or social conditions. So it really is a public-private partnership with a large reach.
Looking beyond the number of people who are participating, how do you measure the impact and influence of the Cocoa Link effort?
Really? Well, Devin, one of the things we learned was that there's a lot of interventions that aren't measured, so we took pains to set up a study of 15 villages at the very beginning of the project, and we tracked it year 1, year 2, year 3. So at the end of it, we could see that the cocoa farmers using the mobile phone technology had greater incomes, had greater knowledge of farming, had more awareness of social issues. So measurement was built in from the very beginning, and I think that's a key learning for us as we move forward across West Africa.
Well, it really sounds exciting. I have to ask, whenever anyone thinks about West Africa today, one thinks about the Ebola crisis. Of course, there are no cases of Ebola in Ghana, but as you think about the rest of West Africa, that becomes a risk, but maybe an opportunity as well. Have you been thinking about that? Certainly you must have been giving some thought to how that relates.
Yeah, we certainly are. And one thing that has changed significantly is the communications landscape. So 4 or 5 years ago, it was very, very hard to get messages to rural villages. What we've seen, particularly in the Ivory Coast and Ghana, where most of the cocoa is grown, is greater access by the villagers to messaging. We're actually probably going to use the Cocoa Link for some Ebola prevention messaging in Ghana. So information is more accessible, it's low cost, and it's changing lives, and it's a great trend for all of us trying to help in business or on social issues.
Now, Mike, as you think about social issues, how do you see CrowdSPRING playing a role as a change agent in creating social impact?
So we like to think that we're part of the democratization of the design industry. On CrowdSPRING and sites like ours, other platforms like ours, people from around the world who have, as long as they have access to the internet, they can compete on a level playing field with other designers, other creatives around the world. So I mentioned we have 160,000 plus creatives registered who work on the site. They come from 200 countries. It provides them with opportunity that they've never had before. Opportunity to reach clients, opportunity to communicate with small business, opportunity to collaborate with other designers that they would never have otherwise had. And we really believe that this truly levels the playing field, gives people from anywhere in the world an opportunity to compete against others in a way that they were never able to before.
So do you have designers who are participating in places as far away as Ghana?
Oh, absolutely. We have designers from almost every country in the world. I think the last time I checked, there were a couple of countries in Africa where we didn't have any registered users, but it really is a global platform, and it really does attract people from around the world. And on both sides, it's what we call a two-sided marketplace, because it has the creatives who are the providers of these services, and it has buyers like the State Department in this case who are the consumers of these services, and it allows them to find each other in ways that they haven't.
Well, this is an inspiring and novel way. I realize it's not brand new, but it is part of this increasing global economy that we all have an opportunity to participate in, and it is exciting. Andy, tell us a little bit more about your broader role at Hershey as the cocoa sustainability guy.
Okay. Devin, Hershey has been buying cocoa beans in West Africa for almost 50 years. We, like our industry peer group, about 2/3 of the cocoa that we use originates in West Africa. And within the last 10 years or so, we've worked much more closely with the governments and our suppliers to modernize cocoa farming. The farmers in West Africa can produce more per acre with better technology, better methods. That will increase their income. Land is becoming less available to them, so getting smarter about it, getting more people involved. The Cocoa Link project allows farmers to ask the experts questions, so it has a two-way component. So it's very much providing information, providing business thinking to cocoa farmers, helping them replace old trees with new ones, helping them apply fertilizer more efficiently. All those really have a benefit for our business, but also importantly a benefit for the communities and the farmers engaged in the work.
Well, that really is inspiring work that you're engaged in. Why do you care about that, Andy?
Well, it's really interesting. The other day we were recently in Ghana, and we were talking to a farmer, and he said that before GPS mapping, so the farm had never been mapped formally. It had been mapped visually, so they certainly know their land very well, but it had never been mapped with GPS before. So instead of having 8 acres, he had about 5 acres. And what that means to him is he doesn't have to buy as much fertilizer or as many inputs. And he has a greater certainty of what to do on the farm. And I find the application of technology and insights from business and the technology community absolutely fascinating, absolutely liberating, and just great bottom line pocketbook application of these ideas that we see in our society taking root in West Africa.
Oh, that's great. Now, Mike, you had some real success. You're really a leader in your space. Tell us a little bit. I want you to channel that inner entrepreneur that you have been so successful with throughout your career to help us think about how to have more impact? What are the keys that you've seen in your life that would allow others to have more impact in their careers?
Well, you know, it was interesting listening to what Andy was talking about with CocoLink and how relatively inexpensive technology can change lives in such an incredibly dramatic way. And we like to think of CrowdSPRING as a change agent in the same sense. It's a simple web platform, really, at the heart of it, that allows people to make a meaningful difference in their lives. And we have to look at it through a different perspective. So just like to a cocoa farmer in Ghana, who that cell phone has made such an incredible difference to, web access to a designer in a third world country where they might be able to earn a relatively small fee, or at least from our perspective, a relatively small fee, say $200 or $500, is a very, very meaningful amount of money to somebody. And we have to look at it through a wider lens, because at least here in the entrepreneurial community, we think about these relatively small amounts of money, and it's not very meaningful. But we have to remember that that's us, that's our lens that we're looking at it through. And while I can pull this cell phone out of my pocket and I take it completely for granted, to the people that Andy's working with, that device it's a tunnel to the future, and it's a tunnel to opportunity that they've never had before. So these simple technology platforms truly can make a huge, huge difference, a huge impact in people's lives.
That's great insight. Great insight. Andy, let me ask you the same question. You've been very successful in your career. How would you encourage people to have more impact? How do they do it?
I think you have to have a great deal of respect for whoever your partner is. And in our case, the government of Ghana was open to this. When we started, it seemed a little strange, and no one really was certain whether we thought maybe 4,000 or 5,000 people ultimately. But they were there. They believed in the insight. They pulled it through with us. So I think that respecting, understanding your partner, one, and then most importantly, the user of the service or the product. We didn't really have a strong opinion on what cocoa farmers should be told, or we asked them, and so we surveyed them. And the messaging really was based on what they wanted, what they needed. So very practical, pragmatic. So I feel very strongly that identifying a good partner and then listening carefully to the service beneficiary is really the key here.
Oh, that's great. Now, Andy, before we go, I wonder if you would just take a minute and tell people how they could learn more about the CocoLink program.
I would. Thank you, Devin. This has been a great forum and really appreciate it. We'd direct them. There's a lot of information on the Hershey Company website, including videos about our project. So that would be a great place for people to learn more. Great.
And Mike, how do people connect with CrowdSPRING and with you?
So people can connect with CrowdSPRING by simply going to crowdspring.com, and they can learn about it right on the homepage. It's not complicated. They can connect with me directly. The easiest way is through Twitter and social media at Mike_Sampson. I'm on it pretty constantly, and I'm pretty responsive. And we really do encourage those kind of connections. You know, we were a very early adapter of social media in our business and in our efforts, and it has been very successful for us, and it's a tool that we really love and we really use a great deal.
Yeah, fantastic. Mike, Andy, thank you both for joining me today, and wish you every success in your continued efforts.
Thank you, Devin.
And to you, thanks so much, Devin.
Thank you. Let's do some good.
All the best.